Hello, Drunk Theology fans. Good to be here with you today. I am today recording this in the fair city of North Las Vegas. Yes, I'm visiting family. Family is very important to me, and I enjoy visiting as much as possible. But before we go on in that lesson, please remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell, so that way you'll know when this is up. And if you're watching this on Instagram, just go ahead and go to my bio, and from there you can see all the platforms that it is on, as far as podcasts and video platforms, or you can watch this program as well. Facebook, same thing. Go to your to the notes that are there, and you'll see the same links that are there via Linktree. Remember, you go to Linktree and you'll find everything where you can find me. And please remember, go to Patreon. Go to patreon.com, because you're only going to get about 10 minutes of the lesson today. This is about a 40-minute lesson. And if you want to listen to the rest of it, just go over to patreon.com /RevCH Brown, and you will find me there. And if you become a patron for $5 a month, you can listen to all the videos that are going to be placed on there for these lessons, as well as other great offers that are there. So just go there, and we are going to start with the book of Revelations, chapter 2, and we're going to be starting in verse 12. Now, if you'll remember, we covered the Church of Ephesus, where they worshiped the goddess Diana. We covered the Church of Smyrna, where they, not the church themselves didn't worship the goddess Diana, but the city, and also the Church of Smyrna, where it was they had a synagogue of Satan, and if you'll have to go back to that to figure out what that is if you haven't heard already. And now we're going to continue with the message to the church from Jesus Christ that he gives to John the Apostle. And so we're going to look at the church of Pergamum, the church of Pergamum, and we'll also cover the church of Thyatira and for this session. Now he says this, I know where you dwell, where Satan's throne is, yet you hold fast my name, and you did not deny my faith, even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was killed among you where Satan dwells. Interesting that Jesus, first of all, he lets the church know, I know where you live. I know your surroundings. I know the challenges that you face. I understand the difficulties that you undergo. Because Pergamum was a place where, unlike, for example, Ephesus, where the worship of Diana was huge, and that was like who everyone worshipped, Pergamum was a place where they had many deities that they worshipped. And, that's the reason Jesus cites it. He says this is where the adversary's throne is. Remember, Satan is not, contrary to popular belief. We get a lot of our beliefs from secularism, and the church teaches it. And it's kind of like, we got to get a little bit more Bible focused. Satan is not an individual entity. The scripture does not paint him as an individual entity. Lucifer, yes, he is an individual fallen archangel. The Satan is is not an individual entity. It is a term that is used. It's called the adversary. So there is a council of the third of the angels that fell with Lucifer. And among them, there is a council that have to report to God. We see this in the book of Job. We see it mentioned in the book of Psalms. We see it in other extra biblical writings, that they must report to the throne of God. And so we find that Jesus addresses those as the adversary. They are against God's plan. They are against God's plan for man, which is the whole reason for the schism in the heavens. But that's a whole different study. So we have, he says, I know, because remember, there are many deities that are worshipped. Many deities. So these are all different demonic hosts, all different principalities and powers and dominions that are leaders on the other side, on the adversary side. That's what he says. He calls it the adversary's throne. He goes, I know that you live there. I know that you have all of this against you. And yet you hold my name fast. And you did not deny my faith, even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was killed among you where Satan dwells. So he says, you did not, he goes, he remember his pattern with the churches. He praises them, he then rebukes them, and then he encourages them. That's the pattern that is in each of these letters to the churches. And so he's praising them, he's commending them. He says, even though you are where Satan's throne is, where the adversary's throne is, you are holding fast to my name, and you did not deny my faith. It says you did not deny that I've been faithful to you. That literally is the Greek rendering of this, that you did not deny my faith. It's talking about Jesus' faithfulness. It says you did not deny my faithfulness, even though horrible things are happening to you. Horrible things are taking place in your life and in the life of the church, but you do not deny my faithfulness to you. He commends them for that. How easy it is when we get into trouble or when things are hard and struggling, whether it be financial, whether it be emotional, whether it be mental. During this pandemic, a lot of emotional and a lot of mental anguish. Suicides are up, depression is up, abuse of family members is up, domestic abuse. I mean, and we find that. He says, even though all these horrible things are taking place, and believe me, what we're going through is nothing compared to what the church went through, and we'll see that in a moment. Although there are churches in the world that undergo exactly these conditions that I'm about to describe, that the scriptures are about to describe. But even though you're going through all this, if you do not deny his faithfulness, you talk about pleasing God. What pleases his heart is that even in the difficult times and in the struggles that you're going through, you don't deny his faithfulness. When you're going through the fire, you can either choose to hold on to God's faithfulness or you can choose to deny him. And that is what happens to this church. Because let's look what he says. It says, you hold fast to my name and you did not deny my faithfulness or my faith, even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was killed among you where Satan dwells. It says, even in the time, I like that, in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness. Antipas was just a disciple. You need to understand this. He was not an apostle. He was not, necessarily, he wasn't a fivefold guy. He wasn't an apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher. He was a member of the church, probably an elder, because he drew the attention of the Roman authorities. But he was not, like fivefold ministry. And he was one of the early disciples. And he's unknown except for here. Unknown by us, but known by the Lord. And he was, like I said, apparently one of the early believers, and he died at the hands of the Roman overlords. One of the first of the martyrs in that church and in that area, in that region of Asia, Turkey. One of the first ones. It says, and even in the days of Antipas, when the Romans were coming in and destroying you, he goes on to do this. he says, and he died at their hands. And even during that time, you did not deny my faithfulness. You see, the reason you're going through the fire, and it may not be as horrible as this, but the reason is, what are you going to do about Christ? What are you going to do about your relationship with him? Are you going to look at him as still being faithful, or are you going to be shaking your fist saying, why me? Are you going to be saying, it's not fair, God? And there's not, now don't get me wrong. There's nothing, he knows how you feel, and there's nothing wrong with you saying it to him, but say it to him. Don't be saying it to your neighbor. Don't be saying it to your children. Don't let them hear you going off on some rant, and then they're thinking, man, God ain't faithful. No, go say it to him. I remember years ago, I had a huge thing that happened to me and my family that could have destroyed us. And I was angry at God. And I remember, getting up one night, I couldn't sleep, and I just got up at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I drove my car wherever. I literally went from Long Beach to Riverside to Temecula to San Diego and back up to Long Beach. And about that somewhere along that 3.5, 4 hour ride, I pulled over because the whole time I was cussing and yelling at God, like, why have you allowed this to happen to us? Why have you allowed this to happen to me? I mean, I've done this, and this. I mean, and I've made all sorts of sacrifices for the cause of Christ and for the ministry. And yet this horrible thing happened. I won't go into all the detail there, but the thing is, this horrible thing happened. And it's like, why? And it was okay because I was directing it at him. And I was talking to him, not just spouting off, but I was like in a conversation with him. And suddenly the Spirit of God comes into that car, and I pull over and I weep like a baby. And it was like God was wrapping his arms around me and saying, let it out. It's poison. Let it out. It's okay. You're talking to me. I know it all anyway. Just let it out. And somewhere from there, back to Long Beach, I knew he was still faithful. He's still faithful. He's a faithful God. Faithful in every way, and he'll bring you through whatever circumstance you find yourself in. Don't despair. And it's okay to talk to him, but talk to him.